Welcome to the Own It Show. I'm Heather Lee Chapman, your holistic performance and business coach. And I'm so excited to be here with you all today. It's time to stop sacrificing your health and freedom and start scaling your results in your business and all areas of your life. Here at Own It Empire, we help entrepreneurs become high performers and increase their awareness so they can increase their impact and create profitable business online so that you can truly own it.
Awesome. Welcome back to the Own It Show. I'm so grateful to be here with incredible Cynthia Klein. And she is a family happiness expert, teaching parents how to become the child's ally rather than their adversary. And today we're going to be talking about how to own your parent-child communication so you can keep your kids talking. So thank you so much for being on the show today, Cynthia.
Great to be here.
Amazing. So tell us more about you.
Well, I have been a family happiness expert for over 30 years now. Yes, that ages me. I have a grown daughter, and my goal has been to work for world peace. I belong to a world peace organization since I was 22, and I feel like world peace starts with the family, like how they interact with each other. If we can't get along and learn how to communicate with those we love, how are we going to do it with those we don't love? So that's my goal, to really help parents learn how to give respectful directions, how to have amazing conversations and solve problems together. And then what I'm going to be talking about today is how to step back and let their kids solve some of their own challenges. So that's what I'm all about, be an ally rather than an adversary.
So I'm really excited to have you on our show because we like to help uncommon knowledge become common. And I second everything you just said. I am a stand for peace and heaven on earth for the highest good of all. It is my mission as well. And so I love that we connected on that. I know you're part of prayer circles for peace for the world. So thank you for all that you do. And I do believe it starts at home. One of the things that changed my life and had me support my family and turn around and share everything I was learning with them was Jim Rohn. He said, you want to change the world? Start with your family. And I remember thinking, okay, Jim, like, thanks for giving me this big to-do list. And we have incredible relationships now. We have a family WhatsApp chat. We share everything. We support one another. And all of our relationships are so much better, and we're all better as well. And that allows each of us to then create our own healthy families and also create people who go out into the world that are creating those healthy relationships. So that ripple effect does travel wide and far. So first of all, thank you for what you do, your incredible years of experience, and now turning it around into a book and a coaching opportunity to help other parents learn how is the best and healthiest way to build a relationship with their child, where that is the time when something comes, they feel safe to come and talk to you about it.
Yes.
And you can be that person for them. So I love it. I'm so excited. We're going to dive into your incredible tips on your zone of genius in a second. So, you know, we love to bring on conscious entrepreneurs who've been successful in their journey and then share on their zone of genius. So you guys are going to get some incredible tips today. And before we dive into that, we want to talk about your entrepreneur journey because we want to help all you conscious entrepreneurs listening, not only to get on the journey, stay on it, and to also thrive on it because it is a journey. So we love to hear about everybody's journeys and things they've had to overcome and where they're now. And so please tell us more about your journey.
Yeah. And so everybody has a different kind of business. My business is one of education, right? So I'm not a therapist. I got my degree in child psychology, but I was an elementary school teacher for numerous years, but it was like my passion was I really want to help families. And so I found the best way for me was to do speaking. Like I started to get out there and I actually charge for my speaking. Now, some people say do free talks, but I had a different philosophy. I had a belief that the value I was giving them deserved to be paid for. So you'll hear different things about that. And because you'll hear sometimes, oh, do some free talks, you'll get some clients. I didn't do that. And so I've done over 650 in-person talks
That's
over.
incredible.
Yes, yes. And then COVID hit, and then, oh my gosh, I lost that. So that was how I really got and connected with people. And what's so crucial is to get their email address.
Mm.
That is essential to get, like numero uno. You don't want to rely on other platforms just because they can do whatever they want to with your information. And so I would send out, it was like a monthly email, and then I really developed the ability to send out a weekly email because I had somebody helping me. So
Awesome.
when you have support, and then it was like a commitment to this person, it's like, okay, by Tuesday, I get you the email for the week so it can go out on Friday. That really helps you stick to it.
It sure does.
Yes, yeah, you need, okay, I make a commitment. And then the other thing was, I would do these handouts. I've done a lot of in-person coaching as well, and then over Zoom. And I was having all these handouts, and I was also writing for a parenting magazine, a local parenting magazine. So that was, it was like 750 words maximum. So I had training writing. People kept saying, when are you going to write a book? When are you going to write a book? And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do that. But the reality is I did. 2017. So it's like the basis was the work that I was doing with the handouts I was giving my clients, the articles I was writing for the paper, and then I developed and created this book, Ally Parenting, which has been so great. So if you have a skill set information you want to give, I really encourage people to do a book. And then a few years later, I did an audio book. I hired somebody to do my book for me.
Love
I
that.
encourage that for people if that seems, important for you. And because now when I work with coach with clients, I use that. And then since then, I've also created a video-based program. So I just completed that this year. So different ways to get my information out has been invaluable, staying up with what's going on.
Yeah, I love it. So first of all, hats off to you. So many speakers I've been talking to have been saying, "Oh, they all want me for free or they want me to pay." And and I was like, "No, no, no. You can get paid for speaking. I get paid for speaking. Cynthia gets paid for speaking. You just have to find those right opportunities." And you have over 100 of those under your belt. And then everything shifted in the world. Lockdown happened, which required you and myself to pivot our businesses. And I love that you didn't close your doors. You know what you do is important, and you pivoted and learned how you could deliver this information in other ways and keep growing your business and keep serving. And so absolutely love it. And I find it very interesting. I co-authored just before the lockdown in 2 books, and that was part of my marketing strategy for brand building. And
Yes.
so I love that you have the book. I second what Cynthia said. Whether it's co-authoring or creating your own books, I bet you have so much content and things you've already created, you could put it into a book. It's probably already waiting to be put together. And it's great for brand awareness to help build your brand, and also validate the information that you're sharing, and also for you to be able to use as a tool with your clients,
Yes.
right? All those things that you're teaching them, you get to put it in one handy little book and hand it to them. So I love that. I love that you've pivoted, you've been thriving, and you've moved into the online space, which allows you to keep that one to many as well, and
Yes.
in just a different avenue, and keep teaching and speaking. So we're so grateful to have you on the show today and dive into your tips, because I truly believe they're invaluable. And one of the reasons I really wanted to have you come on is talking about communication. So she's going to talk about it in relation to parenting. And I also know it's one of the biggest things that people lack access to, is how to communicate effectively and access to communication, and it really can impact your relationship. So this information she's going to share is going to be great for parenting. It could also be used within your business, with your team, with your friends, with your family, so many different ways. So you can look at this through a few different lenses if you're not a parent yet, or if you're not, this information is still invaluable, because without communication, you can't have a healthy relationship.
Absolutely. Yes.
Like, go ahead.
And one of the things is when I had my daughter, I knew my daughter's now 35. I knew that I wanted to have a close relationship with her because I didn't have it with my mother. They didn't know, my mother was born in the 20s. They didn't know at all. There wasn't any conversation about it. And I can remember being a teenager crying on my bed because another time we had another argument and my mother out there talking to my dad as though nothing had happened. Like I was suffering and she didn't have the capacity or the skill set to care. And so many people of us, you grow up with that, right? So I grew up with that. So when I had my daughter, I had to learn. I did a lot of training. I've actually been trained in 5 different parenting programs to be an instructor. So it's like I wanted to learn. It wasn't like, oh, you love your kids, you can do it right. No, so education, I'm a firm believer in you want to learn a new skill, you have to educate. So I did that. It wasn't like, oh, I'm a great parent educator because I was raised that way. No, I had to learn. And so what I want to talk about is a certain role. I talk about 3 different roles that you're going to play with your kids. One of them is being a supporter. So to know when is it time for you to not tell them what to do and instead listen to them and support them thinking about their own problem and not jumping in and giving advice. And so this is a skill I use with all my friends. So if my friends call up, they're talking about something to me, a struggle, I don't say, well, I think you should do this. How about, I don't jump in and tell them what to do. And my friends have said, gosh, you're just like so much nicer now since you had your daughter. That's because I'm learning the skills, how to be a supporter, how to be a listener, and how to think in my mind that I don't know what they need to do. This is their life. How can I support them? Can you do that with a 5-year-old? Can you have that mindset with this 5-year-old who's trying to tie their shoe, that this is something I want to support them figuring it out rather than rescuing them or telling them what to do?
Yeah, or like rush, we got to get it done. Let's get out the door. Let's learn how. Yeah, absolutely. And that goes through, not just the communication, but in all aspects of the parenting.
All of it. And when my daughter calls me, I put on my hat of being a supporter right away. I'm not a director, not giving her rules. At times you need to be a director. You've got to set rules and limits. To ride the bike, you have to wear the helmet, right? I'm not a collaborator. My daughter's very strong-willed, very independent. She's not calling me up to discuss something that we solve together. That's a collaborator. No, she might just want to talk about what's going on in her life, and that gives her great value. So that's what I do. I right away don't jump in and tell her what to do. So you know what? She keeps calling me.
And isn't that priceless?
Yes. So that's what it's all about, to be what I call a supporter, supporting them and saying to them, I'm not going to tell you what to do. You'll make the final decision. I'm just here to help you think about it if you want. Wow. So you're giving them the power, because if your kids aren't talking to you anymore, it's probably because they feel like, oh, you're going to jump in, you're going to ask them a bunch of questions, you're going to tell them what to do. So you're using communication blocks. But I don't know if you want me to go on to tip 2 or.
Well, what is a communication block?
Yes. So, and we do this all the time. Communication block is when somebody's speaking to us about a challenge they're having, a problem they want to solve, or maybe even they're excited about something. And we respond in a way that somehow hurts their self-esteem without realizing it. And they either stop talking to us, they get mad at us, they say, you don't understand, they say, leave me alone. in some way, it blocks communication.
And I know we're all guilty of that because we want to be the problem solver. We want to jump in and solve the problem and say, you should, you could, what have you. And sometimes, as you were saying, being a supportive listener is a skill that can last forever. And sometimes just being that supportive listener instead of trying to solve the problem can actually help them solve the problem themselves.
Yes, and it means that inside us, the listener, we have to have confidence in that person's ability to think about things. Because if we're just thinking, oh, I know best, I'm the parent, or I've been through this, I'm going to tell them how I did it. So if we don't believe in them, we won't be able to be a supportive listener because we think we know better. So I learned when my daughter was very young, this is her life. I don't know her life. As much as adults want to believe they know everything, I don't even know my own life at times, right? And I'm a senior, but we need to start having belief in other people and give them the safe space where they can kind of vent about things, because when they talk about it, it's like when the thoughts are stuck in their head, it's hard, but when they start talking and we provide the safe environment, then they can process their emotions from their limbic system, their thinking can come out, and it's like we're giving them space for them to put it in front of themselves for them to make better decisions. That's what I provide my daughter and my friends. A little trickier with my husband at times, but
Always wanting to be the director, and we got to learn to be the supportive listener.
yes.
Yeah, and I know it's human nature to want to fix it, to solve the problem. And as she just said, being that supportive listener actually is going to help create the space for them to do it themselves. And also, you have to have that faith that they have the capability to solve it, and give them that space to do so.
Yeah, because especially when they're a teenager, they have a lot of doubt about themselves, a huge lack of confidence, because they're starting to realize things that they don't know. They're confronting problems with teachers, with schools, with friends, with the cell phone, with choices, and they're struggling. And so if they have a parent saying, well, why is it so hard for you? You should just do this. That diminishes their self-esteem, their sense of being capable and even lovable. So if we want them to be children, grow up into adults who are problem solvers, we have to believe in them. I know my daughter had some major thing happen to her in 5th grade that was really devastating concerning friends. And so she was really struggling for many years. So I had to hold within my viewpoint of her belief in her abilities when she was doubting herself.
That's beautiful. And to hold that space for her so she can flourish through it and then solve those problems later in life, because she's built that belief in herself and the skill set.
Yes. And I had to grow. So to me, parenting is an opportunity for personal growth.
Absolutely. It sure is. They say it's a death and a rebirth, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, if you want to really do what I consider a good job doesn't mean that your kids don't have problems, but that you are able to build this connection. So that's what I'm all about, to help parents with their communication. I'm a master on language, the impact of words. One word, the word but, the word if, the word you, the word should. One word can make a shift when you change it. And that's what I really talk about a lot, is language. What are you saying and what are you thinking? Because if you're thinking, oh, my kid can't do this, you don't have confidence in them, the language will not come out supportive, no matter what. So I had to do a lot of personal growth because, as I said, my mother didn't know how to support. Yeah. So I had to learn how.
And I would say for a majority of us, a lot of us, looking at how the world was during those times, it was a very different parenting model. Kids were meant to be quiet, seen, not heard, right? You did what you were told. You were shoulded, as Tony would say, they should all over you all the time, right? Tony Robbins uses that. And yes, an NLP, neurolinguistics program, we know that language actually programs the brain. So she's literally saying the language and the thoughts that you choose to use are programming your children and either helping set them up to thrive or to struggle. And we all want to do our best. And we can only do the best with what we've been given. And so then we've now got to go and learn these skills and educate ourselves a little bit more because it's not taught in school. So that's why she's got a book.
Yes,
Maybe
yes.
it'll eventually be in the part of a schooling somewhere because that would be amazing.
Wouldn't that be nice? And I work with a lot of parents who were raised in other countries where the kids did exactly what you said. They listened to them, they obeyed. So I work with parents, India, China, that are like, I don't understand what's going on. Why isn't my kid doing what they're supposed to do? So I help them understand the difference and how you now get more cooperation in a different way. It's not from fear. It's not from intimidation. It's not from you should. It's different here in United States. They feel like they should have some freedoms, choices.
Yeah, we want to give these kids freedom. There is a conflict about it. I even seen a comedian talking about it, and it is a new way of parenting, and it is a new paradigm for some people. Some
Yes.
people are not taking it on, and some are. And I have parents with European background, so strict European background, it goes shit on all the time. And so I would even say, even here. I'm in Canada. It happens. I'm very aware of it. I saw it at the mall the other day with a father with his children and his wife. And so I know it's very prevalent as well. And we have to have access to this information and education to be able and take that role on ourselves, so we can educate ourselves so that we can create this safe space and environment for our children to thrive. Bob Proctor was one of my mentors, and I loved how he said he never told his kids no. He never told them what to do. He would say, "How would you do that? How could you do that?" And he had them do affirmations and things like that before they go to bed. He was NLP trained as well. And that's just a totally different way of parenting, as I've seen in many other ways. And so I love that, is asking your child to figure it out and help them get to the solution rather than should on them or tell them or say no. So
And it's important to know when to do that. And there's times that you don't do that. There's
yeah,
times that you have to set rules, like the cell phone has to be turned off at 9 o'clock, or there's no cell phones at the table. There's times that you need to be a director, but when you do it, it's with love and care, and it's not trying to convince them to agree with you. And then there's the third role, which I've been talking about, the supporters. Unless your kids really feel you know how to listen and connect to them, they're going to be less likely to be cooperative and to help out. So I'm really encourage parents to learn about the blocks. And maybe I should talk about how to respond instead. My third tip, the empathetic phrases.
absolutely.
Get that in. And so I talk about how do you continue to have the conversation open. And so I encourage parents not to say, I understand what you're feeling. That's talking about yourself. You might think that makes them feel better. If you say, I understand how you're feeling, and they don't like it, you've done a block. So more like, wow, that's hard. Boy, it sounds like you seem upset. If they're a feeler, there's feelers and thinkers. In fact, my handout they're going to get is about feelers and thinkers. Maybe you want to say, wow, that sounds really hard. It seems like you're having a hard time deciding. Boy, it's so many choices to make. Like you're just saying phrases very tentative. You notice how I say tentative? Sounds like, it looks like, you seem. So you're just expressing what might be going on. You're not asking, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? Because that's like interrogating. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't know. And they'll say, I don't know. So I do talk about that. I talk about that in my book, about how you can respond to just keep them talking. And in your mind, you're not thinking, I'm going to solve this. You're just thinking, how do I give a safe space for them to keep talking? And these empathetic responses are pretty darn good. I mean, I did them with my daughter when she was in college, and she'd call up and say, I hate to write this paper. She was the math and business major. And she'd go on and on. Why is an English paper? Why do I have to write this? And I'd go, darn, jeez. That's just something you don't like that at all. And she'd go on and on. It was like all of her stress would get reduced. And then at the end, I'd say, okay, you're ready to work on the paper now.
And she would get to work on the paper.
She would, and we'd work on it. It wasn't like, well, you have to do this, you need to, all the moralizing, you should, everyone has to do this, it's hard, but there's all of these communication blocks that parents pile on. So I encourage you to instead sit back and say, okay, right now, I don't need to give them advice. I don't need to ask them questions. I just want to give them space so they can release the emotions, and then we can possibly talk about it.
I love it. Okay, guys, just give you 3 incredible tips, and I'm going to do a quick overview so you can have a great understanding of it. So she's talking about being a supportive listener, and it's a skill you can use forever. And so it's important to know when to let your child or teen solve the problem rather than you. And so that's the supporter role. Tip number 2 is, in order to give them the power to make the decision, don't use communication blocks. And so that's what she was just talking about, such as giving advice, interrogating, or commanding. And number 3 was, as they are sharing, rid yourself of judgment and instead respond with empathetic phrases that keep them talking. And what is your favorite empathetic phrase, would you say, that helps keep that conversation going, if there was one that
Well,
comes to mind?
of course, everybody's different. And that's the key thing, is to understand that and to pay attention to how the person's responding. So if I say, well, that sounds hard, and they keep talking, then that's a good phrase for them.
Got it.
So that's for a thinker type. That's like for thinker, you sound pretty confused about this. You sound pretty upset. That would be more for a feeler. So that's what's in my free download. How do you know when to be a thinker? When do you know whether that person's a thinker or a feeler type, and how to respond? Sometimes just wow. If you don't know what to say, just zip it. Don't block and say, wow,
Interesting. Yes. Beautiful. And so, guys, she's got this incredible free gift to elaborate and expand on everything we just talked about. So tell us why they should go and grab that free gift now.
Right, because I've been talking about what not to do and how to do empathetic phrases instead. And in this numerous page article, I talk about what a thinker is, what a feeler is. So you want to decide how to respond, and a whole bunch of examples of thinker phrases and feeler phrases. So it's going to really give you exactly what you need. It's going to bring it down to reality, what to say that's going to be helpful. And then you try it out, and you'll get great results from trying it and seeing the response. So like I said, I'm a teacher. I'm an educator. I want to give you important information that'll help you in all your relationships.
I love it. And it is so important, that language that we use, it can make and break a relationship or a safe space or not. So you guys want to make sure you grab that resource right now. The link is in the description below. Thank you so much for that incredible free gift. Was there anything else that you wanted to add before you tell us about your favorite book and why?
Um, that the communication is a skill to be learned.
Yes.
Please, if you feel like, oh, I should know, that's not true. Times are changing. If you want to parent just like how you were parented, then you don't need education. But times have changed, families have changed, society has changed. America is different from a lot of part of the rest of the world. And to learn how to set limits respectfully is crucial. How to have good conversations is essential to make plans together. And then how to support your kids solving their own problems is those three things are so essential to learn how to do. And that's my goal, to really instruct parents. You're not a bad parent if you don't know. If you're saying, oh, help me learn, you're a great parent. That's to me what a great parent is.
I love it. And just because you didn't have access to the information before, like she said, doesn't mean you're not a bad parent. It's up to us now. Our parents and society and everyone did the best with what they had. And now that's what we have. And now it's up to us to make the change and make the difference. So you want to make sure you grab that free resource. Absolutely. And then what's your favorite book and why?
Well, I do like other books, but I am going to talk about my book, Ally Parenting.
Perfect.
I'll tell you, this book is great for men and women, but men particularly love it. There's no fluff in this book, right? Remember, because I had learned how to write 750 word chapters. Like, I get to the point and I give you examples. So if you want just clear-cut book, what not to say to a strong-willed child, what thinking is the problem, how you should think instead, and how to be the 3 roles I talked about, this will just, it's so clear. Most chapters are 4 pages long.
Love it.
How quickly can you go through that? And then there is the Audible, if you want to just listen instead, and then there's the ebook as well. But I've had since 2017, this book was published, and I constantly, every month, people are purchasing my book. They find it of great value.
And I think it's just going to continue to grow and hopefully inspire other people to step into the space as well. So I love it. I think what you do is invaluable. It's such a gap in the market. So thank you for doing it. Thank you for betting on yourself and your mission, and pivoting through all the changes the world went through so that you could continue to thrive and help parents and children have thriving relationships. So thank you so much.
Yes. And if there's a school or a company that would like to have me speak, if I can do it over Zoom. So keep me in mind for that as well. I'm always looking for opportunities to share my wisdom with others.
I love it. Education is invaluable. And when you get access to it, you want to dig in. So you might even want to listen to this episode again and again. And if you want so much more, then absolutely grab that book, listen to it on Audible, grab the freebie she's gifted you, and make sure you reach out to Cynthia and connect with her, whether it's about education or hiring her for coming in to educate within your community. She has such a wealth of knowledge, incredible experience, and really is making a big difference in this world. So thanks for being a stand for peace for all of us.
Yes, thank you.
My pleasure. So remember, everybody, stay happy, healthy, wealthy, and what is the best that can happen? We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Own It Show today. Make sure to leave a review and subscribe. We want to thank you for your time and energy and extend the invite for you to join us in the Own It community on Facebook, an incubator for conscious entrepreneurs so that they can step into their greatness. We have tons of free trainings and resources for you, as well as a great opportunity to network with people leaving a positive impact on this world. Make sure to come back for next week's show. Have an incredible day. Remember, expect magic and miracles. Stay happy, healthy, and wealthy.